Welcome to Pandora's Awareness Podcast, a place where we collect stories and circulate life-changing wisdom. I am your host, Asher, and our guest today is Sherry and Helia. Two incredible, amazing, beautiful ladies we get to talk to about failure. Our theme of today is around failure. So now we're going to jump into the stories of us, all of us. We have experienced failure sometime before, so we get to share that. So I'm going to start off with you, Sherry, if you don't mind. Share a bit where you're hailing from, what you specialize in, or you're adding value to the world and who you're being a hero to, and I will do the same thing for Helia as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us here. So my name is Sherry Sutton. I am a marketing mentor and business growth guide. I work with small businesses, generally solopreneurs who know they need to do more marketing, but don't know what that looks like. And so I've taken 30 years of experience in marketing and being a multiple entrepreneur, and use that as a way to create kind of custom plans for people so they don't have to just do the cookie cutter methods that everybody teaches. Help them figure out exactly what to do that makes the most sense for them, because not everybody wants to do social media or feels good being on camera. And so
Mhm.
that's what I do. I'm coming to you from Dallas, Texas, where summer has finally hit. So it's super hot outside. But I'm super, super happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you, Sherry, for sharing. Same for you, Helia. How about you? Where you specialize in? Where you hailing from?
Yes, thanks so much for having me here, Asher. My name is Helia Oghani. I am I'm a manifestation coach. I teach manifestation, law of attraction, and I'm a licensed coach and I teach Bob Proctor's teachings. If you've watched the movie The Secret that came
Mm-hmm.
out almost 20 years ago, was about the first mainstream movie that came out about law of attraction. Bob Proctor was one of the teachers on that movie. And then a few years ago, I decided to become a coach. I took his coaching courses and I got my license, and that's my full time job. And I have clients from all over the world thanks to the internet and technology. Um, and I live in Toronto, Canada. I'm from Iran originally. I'm Persian, but I live in Toronto, Canada. And the weather is pretty nice here too, finally.
We're finally getting the weather that we all need, and it's been beautiful here in Connecticut. I'm hailing from Hartford, Connecticut right now too, and it's pretty nice here as well. Okay, so Sherry, looking into your eyes, my friend, I see you got this beautiful background. If you had to share one of your failures that you've experienced in your lifetime that the world needs to have a conversation with you with, what would that failure you would share?
Yeah, my failure was came from my search for authenticity and my just kind of never ending born with it fear of not fitting in, right? I just never felt like I fit in. I always felt a little left of center. I still kind of do,
Mm,
frankly. But that caused me throughout my life to become kind of a chronic people pleaser, very codependent. And I spent my life really wearing whatever mask I needed to wear in order to think that you were going to accept me, right? Because I felt like so awkward that I felt like if I showed up just the way that I was, that it wouldn't be good enough. And while that's not a failure in and of itself, it is, I never was able to really show up as my authentic self, right? And so about 12 years ago, I became an entrepreneur for the first time and I left the corporate world and I was able to kind of shed those masks for the first time. And it was this incredible journey of finding my own authenticity. But at the same time, it really caused my life to fall apart because I had married a man who really fell in love with another woman who I presented to him. That woman was still me, but I had presented him with a totally different version of myself, the version that I thought he wanted. And when I became an entrepreneur, I kind of started saying, what do I want? What is this going to look like for me? How do I want to show up in the world? And it ultimately led to the demise of my marriage. I just lost all confidence in being who I thought I could be authentically. I struggled for a few years with dependency on alcohol. I got really, really drunk for a few years. I finally, at some point in March of 2016, said, you know what? I can't live like this anymore, and I'm going to go get sober. And with the help of a 12-step program, I was able to kind of dig my way out of that, figure out what's next for me, and really truly create an entire life for myself that's built around true authenticity and not just this idea of, okay, I always feel awkward. Let me be whoever I think you want me to be in order to fit in. I was able to develop a life that was really based on what I wanted, how I wanted to show up. But man, I really had to hit rock bottom before I was able to do that. And now I help other entrepreneurs who have gone through kind of a similar dark night of the soul and say, like, gosh, I either struggled with substance abuse or, a cheating husband, or, I have a client who calls herself a pleasure anorexic. And they often become coaches and they say, you know what, I want to become a coach that helps other people through the same situation. And because I've gone through that journey on my own of how do I authentically show up and get over the fears of what that looks like and of not fitting in and of my life falling apart, because it did fall apart for me. And how do I walk through that journey in a way that feels whole and authentic to me? So it's a very abbreviated version of the story, but
Well,
that's the
I do want
basics.
to thank you for sharing. That's a journey, my friend. Mike, I don't know if my stuff is frozen or your stuff is freezing up.
Your screen just got frozen.
Yeah.
No,
Is
you're
it
good.
mine? Maybe
You're
it's
good.
mine. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. So thank you for sharing, Sherry. And I'm curious about, like, who did you actually find when you went through that process of discovering that authenticity? But who do you really find, like, discover?
It was a little like the woman in Runaway Bride. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but she just didn't know what she liked, right?
Mm,
Like, what do I like? What colors do I want to wear? What colors do I not want to wear? How do I want to wear my hair? What color do I want my hair to be? I mean, everything I really started from the ground up because I had lost everything. I had lost my husband, the money, the big house, all of the things. Thank God I still had my son, but I was able to say, what do I want now? Right. And I also learned how to love myself when I show up authentically, right? Give myself some grace. I think one of the most important lessons was I still always feel a little left of center. And I've
mm-hmm,
had to accept that that's while it's brokenness in some way, it's also perfect brokenness because it's the way that I'm able to, it's just the way that I relate to the world. It's just the way I came out of the womb, right? There's some ancestral trauma or whatever you want to say, right? That came into this world with me, but it's also what drives me to find ways to connect with people in a way that's authentic, both to them and to me, because I always do feel a little awkward that if I just show up awkward, then everyone else who also shows up awkward can connect with me because they know that my awkwardness is matched by their awkwardness, because it's so rare for anyone to not feel a little off kilter, right? And especially when showing up online, doing interviews like this, right? Especially being the face of your brand, it's so tough. And so I've learned just to really accept that part of who I am and see it as a superpower. I really believe that sometimes always our weaknesses can be moved into our superpowers. And I think that that's one of the biggest things I learned, besides just all those preferences, right? That I talked about, like what kind of clothes do I want to wear? What color do I want my hair to be? But is to embrace some of my broken pieces as superpowers that I can actually use to help other people.
I am I am I am glad that you found your colors. I can see your color right now. I'm glad that you found your color and get to share your color, because oftentimes when we get in a world where it feel like it's just straight black and white and we don't get to show our colors, and it kind of affects us a certain way. So I want to say congratulations for finding your color, Sherry,
Yeah.
and be able to share with other people. I know, Helia, you got a smile on your face over there, so I'm curious about your own failure that you want to share to tie into what Sherry just spoke about her own storyline. What will you share?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you, Sherry, for sharing your story and being real and authentic. It means a lot, and we need more people like you. And I think we all have some awkwardness to some degree. It's not the real me. I'm like when it's just me and singing, being goofy and all kind of things. It's different when we are dealing with people, hanging out in person or online. But that was a beautiful story that you shared. So I was just telling you, Asher, before recording that which one of my failures they want me to share? It's just so many. My life has been really challenging in terms of um, two different major areas:
Mhm.
business, work, and also relationships. And I recently, just a few months ago, I found out on this beautiful astrology app. There's so many different astrology apps and websites, but one that I found, it was just so real and so true. Like I can almost say
Mhm.
100% true. It said your life is about experiencing change. You're not going to live a normal life. Just embrace it. And when I read that, I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
cool. I'm not going to try to copy other people or just have a normal life or get married, have kids, or just have one business and be successful at it, and that's it. I'm just going to explore ups and downs, and this is what I need to experience in this lifetime. Who knows what my past lifetime was or what the next one will be. In this lifetime, I'm supposed to experience change. And change comes with what we call quote unquote failure. Um, I have a problem with the word failure, actually, to be honest, because I think as long as you don't stop, you're not a failure. You only fail when you stop. Like, for example, Edison doesn't say, we don't say he failed 1,000 times. We say he invented electricity. That's all we remember. That's all we appreciate. So the steps that we take, even if we don't get to the result, and it's so normal not to get the result right away, first attempt, it's just part of the process. But for the sake of the podcast, I'm going to share. Can I share? I'm going to share big failure and very short failure. The big failure. So a few years ago, I decided I am not a 9 to 5 person. I don't enjoy commuting to work, being in a cubicle in front of the computer and spending 8 hours of my life doing something that I don't enjoy just to
Mhm.
get a paycheck. It was just killing me. The last year in my last work corporate environment, I was so miserable that my colleagues would tell, like every day, they were like, "You okay? What's going on?" I
Mm.
would not talk to anybody. I was really, really unhappy. And I don't have any business background. I don't come from an entrepreneurial family. And I don't even live in my country. I'm an immigrant. I live in Canada. I'm from Iran. So it was a tough decision to make, but I was so unhappy that I literally could not continue staying in that environment anymore. And I thought about what would be the next logical step. What can I do to be my own boss, have my own freedom? And the most accessible thing I could think of was real estate.
Mm.
I got my real estate license within 3 months and I quit my job with a little bit of savings. That first year in real estate was the hardest year of my life. I got a nice red Mercedes, and I thought that's what a real estate agent need, a nice red Mercedes, coupe E-class, and I'm gonna drive around and show homes to people, and I'm gonna get rich. Nothing like that happened. And I'm like looking at my phone, it's not ringing. Who am I supposed to show homes to now? Who is my client? And I started doing what my office recommended. It was, what year was it? It was 2016, I guess. Yeah, 2016. So my office recommended doing door knocking and cold calling. And
Mm-hmm.
I've done that in the cold winters of Toronto, minus 20 degrees. I went door knocking. I did cold calling the whole year. I worked so hard with no result, absolutely nothing,
Mm.
like zero. I spent all my savings. At the end of the year, I only had one lease. I think I made $3,000 in that whole year, and I ran out of my savings. And I remember I told myself, if I can make it in real estate, I can absolutely do anything in life. It was that hard for me. I wouldn't get it. I didn't even know you need to know sales. Real estate is about sales. And I am so not, I was not, I'm not saying I'm not anymore. I'm very good at sales right now because I understand the concept of sales. Um, you help people. It's not that you're forcing people to do something. You understand their needs and you deliver value and receive an exchange for it. But I didn't know any of these at that time. And so I can say, like, that one year was the biggest failure of my life. And my parents told me, we told you so. Why did you quit your job? You had a good
Mhm.
job, you had a good pay, you had pension plans. My ex-partner did say the same thing. And it was just horrible emotionally, mentally, financially. It was really hard. But again, going back to what I first shared, it's not a failure. You're not a failure if you don't quit.
Mhm.
So being a very stubborn human being, a Sagittarius, stubborn Sagittarius that I am, and my freedom was so important for me that I would not go back to corporate world. I needed to have my freedom of time. Um, I kept going and I borrowed some money and I took a coaching. I took a coaching program that helped me a little bit. And then I took another coaching program, which really changed my whole real estate business. And that was Bob Proctor's coaching.
Mhm.
I took, which helped me in real estate, took me into luxury real estate. I started making a lot of money. And then I really fell in love with Bob's material. And I decided that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. So I stayed in real estate for, I think, 4 or 5 years, became really, really good at it, award-winning agent in my office here in Toronto. And I decided to quit again. And again, my parents and everybody else is like, why can't you just stay in one thing? Why do you have to quit? And if that's what your audience is hearing from your family, your partners, your friends, just follow your dream, please. People are different. If you have a dream, follow your dream. This is my life mission, to help people to follow their dreams. Um, but yeah, that was a big failure. Also, sharing another very short, quick failure recently. I've spent a lot of time and effort on my Instagram account.
Mhm.
And I was so disappointed in the last few months because I saw that it's not growing. I'm not getting new following, not getting any engagement. And most of my focus was on Instagram, and my work, my whole coaching is online. And one day, just maybe a month ago, so I would call this a failure because I see a lot of coaches are in there, a lot of businesses are making a lot of money, generating leads, clients, selling their programs on Instagram, and my Instagram is just not growing for uh, the last year or two, I would say. And I decided to quit. I decided to quit and I decided to switch my focus on YouTube instead. I just had this feeling, just knowing internally that I have to focus on YouTube. Sometimes things might not make sense logically. People might say, you need to focus on Instagram first and then go to YouTube or whatever. You need to be on both. But there was a voice in my head, or just a knowing in my gut, that my energy is better on YouTube than Instagram. The day I quit Instagram and I post video saying goodbye, everybody. If you want to find me, if you want to follow me, I'll be on YouTube. I post a YouTube video, and I had my YouTube video channel for a while, but not really consistent. I post a very simple 3 minutes YouTube video, and my subscription doubles from just one video. And that to me is just a sign, is just a confirmation, a confirmation that it was right for me to follow my gut.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, speaking of failure, failure is just a redirection. Um, I'm a very persistent human being. I learned to be like this. I was not like this. I was a
Mm-hmm.
very lazy teenager. But immigrating, being on my own, making money on my own, I had to become really good at discipline and becoming really persistent. So when something doesn't work, like in my real estate business, I don't quit immediately. I really try to stay on it for a while and experience different ways of approaching the problem. Don't quit. For the first sign of failure that you see, don't quit. I really believe in that. But sometimes you have to also listen to your gut feelings, that a failure is a redirection. If something is not working, see how you feel about that. Maybe there is a voice within you, maybe there is a hint, maybe there is a ping saying that try that other thing. And
Mm-hmm.
that's also is not a failure, it's just a redirection. So speaking of failures, but
Yep.
failure is not actually a failure if you keep going and be persistent, either in the same thing or trying a different thing.
You speak with a lot of courage there, Helia. And I'm gonna say hell yeah to that switch over from what you just talked about, because that was a lot of people sometimes afraid of making the switch, of or at least putting a pin into the other thing and move to the next thing and say, okay, let me go over and put some energy here and then come back to this thing maybe later on. But I know you was talking about, are you a Sagittarius too, Sherry?
What was that?
Are you a Sagittarius too or no?
Yeah.
You are?
Oh, cool. I could guess.
No.
See, listen, I love the synchronicity that's happening on this podcast, by the way,
Yes.
because
Yes,
both
I
you
love the
guys are
synchronicity.
understand sales, and you embody that putting yourself out there in the world. And I was seeing Sherry. I mean, Sherry was lighting up when Hilly was talking about her stuff and some of the switch she was making and some of the stuff she was doing. So I'm curious to know what was going through your mind, Sherry, when she was talking just now about her storyline.
Yeah, I mean, I just love that, listening to our inner knowing and saying, this doesn't serve me. Right? This isn't where I want to show up. And it's a tough dance though, because
Mm-hmm.
often we don't want to do things in our business, or we keep doing things out of fear, and we're not maybe used to honing in and really understanding how to listen to that inner voice, right? And once you do some of that work of getting quiet, of talking to, the universe, your higher power, whatever you want to say, those messages come more quickly, right? They come through synchronicities, they come through other things. But we have to learn to discern the difference between this is my fear talking and this is truly a message that's being given to me on what's next, right? That you can have a lot of fear around this isn't working, but if you've given it a try and you finding how to discern, is this fear or is this really sort of my next path? I think I just love how, and I think because of all the work that you've done, Helia, is like you're able to figure or easily say, okay, this was inner guidance or external guidance, right? This was universe guidance and not fear.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes. That's so important to realize where the voice is coming from. Is it your mind chatter, monkey mind, or is it your higher self? Is it an inner knowing? And it's hard to realize that for sure. It comes with some failure and practices and just trying, I tried this thing, it didn't work, so it was my mind chatter. I tried the other thing, it worked perfectly, so it was my intuition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you said it beautifully.
Yeah, I think there's
Here's
something else to be said. Oh, I'm sorry, Asher. Uh, sometimes things don't work the way they used to, especially when it comes to marketing, especially when it comes to social media. Things are
Mhm.
changing all the time. Everyone I know is tanking on Instagram right now, including me. And I'm not super sure what happened. Something happened around the first of the
Mm,
year with the algorithm. And so,
interesting.
bravo to you for saying, like, I'm just going to stop trying to push this thing uphill. Let's do something else. And I have a lot of my clients that were doing the exact same thing is like, look, Instagram just isn't what it used to be. Let's
Wow.
do something else instead. And that being able to say, I'm not making this decision out of fear, I'm making this because it's a smart business decision, frankly. And bravo to you for doing it. Because sometimes we get, especially us stubborn Sagittarians, we dig our heels in. We're like, I'm gonna do it no matter what, including me on
I was
Instagram
gonna
right
ask that
now.
question. What is that special sauce about the Sagittarian that you guys have that I don't know about? Like,
We're just stubborn.
mm,
Stubborn, loving, traveling, and just being spontaneous, adventurous. I
mm.
love Sagittarius sign, obviously, because I'm a Sagittarius. I feel like everybody loves their own sign.
Uh,
But we're also like very go-getter and
Mm.
I'm gonna do it. And
yeah,
yeah, a lot
also
of
very
fire. We
spiritual.
have also very spiritual seekers, and we have a lot of fire.
Mm.
So the
Okay.
fiery go-getter, stubborn.
If you don't mind me asking, Helia, what was life like for you back in Iran before you moved here?
I moved, it's been 20 years. So I moved out of Iran when I was 22.
Hmm.
That tells you my age. I didn't want to say that, but that's okay. No, I'm joking. I don't care about my age. You know what? I was mostly in when you're in an environment and you're really used to that, you're born into that environment, like you're that's all you know. I
Hmm.
used to wear hijab, but that's all everybody else does. My mom, my sisters, my cousins, and so it's just normal life, happy life, a relatively good family, middle class. I went to school and I went to university. I studied French literature. I really loved French language always. Um, so irrelevant to what I do right now. But yeah, I moved out of Iran. I moved to Portugal when I was 22. So basically been out of Iran for 20 years now.
Mm. Where to go?
Yeah.
What gave you the courage to move to Toronto?
To Toronto. Well, I was not happy in Portugal with my ex, and I wanted to make him move. And I definitely didn't want to go back to Iran. Nothing wrong with Iran, but when you're out of that environment, kind of like third world country, you get used to another kind of lifestyle, and it's just really hard to go back. I know people who go back, but I don't understand how they do that. I would never be able to do that. So I wanted to, and that was the first time that I would be living on my own because I was
Hmm.
either with my family or married from a very traditional family, very religious family. So you were about to be, you're either as a woman, you either live with your parents or you get married. So I lived with my parents until I was 22. And then I got married and moved to Portugal with my ex. But after 6 years, I was not happy. I wanted to be on my own. And I literally thought about what are the immigrant friendly English speaking countries that are easy to immigrate to, and I can be on my own and find a job and do something and just pay for my own food and rent.
Mm.
And I was thinking between, because state, I love states, but it's hard to immigrate. It's a different process. I was
Hmm.
thinking between Canada and also Australia because I knew that Australia also is immigrant friendly. Mm. And literally, the lawyer that I found, he was specialized in Canada.
Hmm.
So, kind of by luck, chance, just random, but there's no luck or chance in the universe. Everything happens for a reason. There's a reason I'm here. But that's why I chose Toronto.
Mm. Well, as a fellow immigrant myself, I do understand the courage and the vision it takes to really pick up everything. Sometimes you pack up everything and you move to like my recent book that I published recently called Two Suitcases to Success. And it's about the lifestyle.
Oh,
You
I
pack up
love
everything
that.
in two suitcases, and you move to a new place. And
That's
oftentimes
exactly
you
what
leave
I did.
80% of your life behind, and you take like 20% with you, and you gotta go over there and rebuild everything,
Yeah.
confidence and everything, self-esteem and
Yeah.
everything. It's a
Yeah,
challenge.
and you know that really builds you. Like as a woman, I've never worked in my life before. No woman in my family worked ever before. So
Mm,
it's different now. It's things have changed. But at my time, it was like as a woman, you just get married, you study for the sake of education and having a degree, but you don't go to work. The husband is a breadwinner.
mm-hmm,
So I had to move to not only a new country, but also I had to work and make money. And that's what I did. I faked a resume. I'm sorry, but I had to. I faked a resume. Um, but because I'm a hard worker, so I moved very fast in
mm-hmm.
the corporate world. Um, and I had a family member. I had a third cousin. That was the only person that I knew in Toronto, and they helped me for a few weeks. They really helped me, showed me around, and I'm grateful for them too. But it's scary, but it really builds you. Immigration is, I love that because it's like living a new life.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Talking about failure. You step out in the world, my friend. You haven't failed yet, by the way. I'm listening this whole time. You really haven't failed. Like you said, if you haven't quit on life either. So you're still here doing this stuff
Yeah,
and you still feel,
just
and it seems like happiness is something that really drives you, by the way. I'm here listening to you. Like if I'm not happy, I'm gonna leave. So whoever is in your life right now gotta know that if you're not happy, they gotta watch out because you're gonna step away if you're not happy somewhere.
you got it. You got it. I don't care. Like if I'm with someone, I don't care how successful, amazing, the best human. I don't care if I'm not happy with them. I'm
Hmm.
gone. I'm sorry.
Hmm.
Happiness, you got it. And I think it's a Sagittarius thing. I wonder if Sherry feels the same
I'm
thing.
curious to know too.
Happiness is
Oh,
just number one on my list.
for sure. In some ways to my detriment.
Yeah.
Right, because
Mm,
I will often, make and I've had a habit of making decisions much quicker than I probably should have because it was like, well, I'm not happy, right? And while I don't regret any of those, there were probably times where I could have paused a little bit and that happiness would have come back to me, but I was, just I wasn't having it, right? I'm not feeling aligned anymore. I'm out, right? And I'm sure there were times when the universe was like, yes, let's go. And there were times when the universe was like, let's just take a beat. And I was like, nope, I'm out.
mm. So what you telling me right now is Sagittarius. They need a cage, and the key needs to
Yeah.
be really really put away. So you gotta get permission with the key first. But okay, but I love this quote. Speaking of happiness, by the way, I love this quote by Punjab Papaji, and it says, "Happiness is permanent. It is always here. What comes and goes is unhappiness." So for my Sagittarius folks out there, maybe you think about, hey, you're always happy. What comes and go is the unhappiness. So maybe you gotta think about what is the unhappiness that is coming and going that's disrupting my happiness that I need to like pay attention to a little bit. But anyway, I love that quote when I first heard it. I was like, that's interesting the way I'm looking at it.
Who is it from?
Punja Papaji, something like that. I gotta, yeah, it's Punja
Is
Papaji.
he like the an ascended master? Or is he alive? Is he,
Oh
do
no,
you
he's not
know?
alive. He's not alive. I don't. Oh no,
Okay.
what? You know what? It maybe he is. I don't know. You gotta look him up. You gotta look him
Hmm.
up. It's
It's
a longer
interesting. I
quote. It's a longer quote, but I just kind of use the last piece of it. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
interesting.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Wow. So Sherry, where did your journey started at, if you don't mind sharing? Like where did planet Earth spat you out at, and you started off like, oh, this is where I'm starting at.
Yeah. I started about an hour from where you are right now, actually.
Oh, you did mention it.
So yeah, so I grew up in Connecticut.
Mm,
I grew up in a New Yorker town, and what I mean by that was we had 1,500 people during the week and 5,000 on the weekends, and it was all New Yorkers who had summer houses. So it's
okay.
north of Danbury if you've traveled out west of where you are, sort of on the border of New York. And grew up in a normal home, but a fairly tumultuous home as well. My dad was an alcoholic. My mom was bipolar. So everything kind of looked normal on the outside, but we
Mm-hmm.
had this sort of turbulent thing happening underneath. And so it went from, you know, the big house and the dad with a successful business and the stay-at-home mom to dad drinking all day, mom having to go back to work, kind of being a latchkey kid. And so lived there through undergrad and then was like, I'm out. I'm out of here. I gotta go, right? Back to, sort of what we were talking about earlier of like, I am not happy. I don't want to have anything to do with this place anymore. I'm out of here. And so I moved to Phoenix, which is in the western side of the US, and was there for a few years. I did 10 years in Austin, Texas,
Mm.
where I went through the dot-com boom and bust and learned a whole other culture. The Texas culture, especially Austin, is very different than the Northeast. It's a totally different in Connecticut, especially the closer you get to New York City, it is go, 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 go. Being super direct, not beating around the bush, telling people exactly how you feel. And Texas is much more, oh, bless your heart. And, you have to like have a long conversation before you ask anyone for anything. And so it was a real, you're talking about culture shock. It's not the same as immigrating to another country, but boy, it felt like it for sure, because it is so different culturally. So
Mm.
spent 10 years in Texas, moved back to the East Coast. So I had to sort of readapt to being on the East Coast. I lived in Jersey, which is even more like, super driven, right outside, commutable distance to New York City. Lived there for about another decade, and then have been back in Dallas for about 10 years. And, always trying to find where I was going to be happiest, right? Where am I going to be happiest? This doesn't work for me. This isn't serving me anymore. Let me go here. Maybe that'll work for me. And, getting everything I can out of that and saying that doesn't serve me anymore. How can I move? And, I also, but I believe you grow where you're planted, right?
Mm.
And where Texas is the last place I thought I'd end up as a good Yankee, right? I, have found my home here. I found my tribe here. I've gotten remarried to someone with kids here and a business here, and I guess I'm a Texan. This is where the universe wanted me. So here I am, at least for a little while longer while my son's still in school, and then we'll see where the universe takes me from there.
Yeah, let the universe decides. Let the universe decides. And oftentimes it do decide what's best for us, right? And I'm gonna ask both you guys this question because I'm curious to know the answer too. So I'm gonna start with you, Helia. So what is it that you do that makes you happy? I was gonna ask you what makes you happy, but I'm gonna ask you what is it that you do to make yourself happy?
The first thing came to my mind is my gratitude practice that I do every morning.
Mm.
That right away puts me in such a happy state. And I've just made it a habit. It's been a few years now. As soon as I open my eyes, I just think about the things that I'm grateful for,
Mm.
as simple as my bed, my sheets, the cup of coffee I'm gonna have, that I work for myself. I have a freedom of time, I have a freedom of location, I'm my own boss. I love what I do, I love helping people. So I go on a tangent of gratitude. I'm grateful for my parents, I'm grateful for my sister, grateful for my home, just on and on. And that puts me in such a happy state right away. Um, Also taking baths make me really, really happy. And I renovated my bathroom recently. So that's my happy place too. Like taking long baths with candles and just really making it a spa-like environment.
Mm.
And music too. I mean, there are so many things. There's so many things, but these just came to mind first.
Mm. What about you, Sherry? What is it that you do to make yourself happy?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is service, right? Is using all of the gifts that I've been given as a way to be of service to other people. And that's something we focus on a lot in recovery circles, right? Is this idea of the best way to find yourself is to give back.
Mm.
And the best way to stay aligned, right, with your higher power is by giving back to others. So, man, I love my job and being able to talk to someone and help them figure out how to make money by doing what they feel called to do and living the kind of life that they get to be of service to someone else and helping to pass that torch on. Man, there's nothing better than that. So that I do a lot of yoga.
Mm.
That's one of my happy places. I have a 13-year-old son, just spending time with him, and he's just such an interesting person. The older he gets, the more interesting he gets. And even when he's driving me crazy, he always brings me joy because it's fascinating watching this lotus unfold right in front of your eyes, right? And I feel incredibly grateful to have that opportunity. For many years, I didn't think I would have the opportunity to have children, and I finally was very kind of late in life when it comes to having kids. Feel so grateful for that. So that's one of the other things I do to get happy.
Mm. And I'm gonna tap into your specialty, the marketing and the sales piece of it. And I'm curious to know, why is that profession that you pick right now so important to you?
I think that the most no, that the most impactful way to really live in a fully present, giving everything you possibly can, utilizing all of your gifts all at once is something hard to do, and it can only happen through entrepreneurship.
Mm.
And the ability to not only do that for myself, where I get to use all aspects of my brain, all of my failures, all of my strengths, and all of my weaknesses together to help other people to do the same so they can show up and live like a fully embodied life. There's nothing better than that. There's nothing better than that because I've had the opportunity to go through all of these trials to live now a fully embodied life and to be able to help someone else to do that and make money along the way.
Mm.
There's nothing better. There's nothing better.
Mm. Same question for you, Helia. I know you mentioned that you skipped from real estate to Bob Proctor, incredible methods. I'm curious to know why you choose that one as something important for you to share and specialize in the world with.
Yeah, it's literally like my life mission, my life purpose
Mm.
to teach people teachings of Bob Proctor. And if I want to summarize it in short, it's teaching people how powerful they are,
Mm.
like reminding them how powerful they are, how powerful their thoughts are, how we are all creators and they can create their lives and we are not a victim of life. No matter what situation people are going through, they can absolutely change it if they're not happy with their relationship, with their finances, even their health, because we know that everything comes from within, everything comes from our subconscious programming. And I just have this passion of just shaking people sometimes and telling them how powerful they are, just waking them up to their own power. And it's just so fulfilling doing that. It's just so rewarding. And to Sherry's point that she was saying, what brings her happiness is service. If someone is listening, if your audience, someone is listening or watching this podcast and you're not feeling good, whatever the reason is, go out and help someone, even
Mm.
through just a little conversation. Go give someone a compliment. Go talk about someone else's problem and try to uplift them and see how much better you will feel. It's like a win-win situation. When I teach and I have my coaching clients, I help someone to realize how powerful they are and therefore be able to create their dream life. And meanwhile, I feel so good doing that. I feel
Mm.
like a vessel that transferring a positive energy from the higher self to someone else.
Mm.
Love what you said about just even if it's just a small way of service, sometimes we think like, oh, I don't have time to go volunteer at the homeless shelter or whatever. But think about the last time you were in the grocery store and someone was like, girl, you look good. Like, look at this outfit, right? It makes your whole day. And that takes them 5 seconds, right? Just doing that, right? Or seeing a mom in the grocery store and who's struggling with a crying toddler, being like, girl, I've been there. Or putting back your cart at the grocery store, right? Putting your cart back, whatever those little things are. It doesn't have to be some big, like, gala or hundreds of thousands of dollars or all this time. It can be these little tiny, random acts of kindness, which sounds so cliche now that I hear myself saying it. But
No, that was beautiful, by the way. That was. And Sherry, say if somebody listened to you right now, it's like, wow, Sherry, I really connect with you today. I love the way you speak, the story. I would love to work with you as my marketing mentor. How can they connect with you?
yeah, so my website's always the best place. It's sherrysutton.com. So SherrySutton.com. And I offer primarily just one-on-one coaching. I believe that there isn't a one size fits all to marketing. And so I usually work with my clients one-on-one. They can do some self-guided along the way, but I mostly do one-on-one coaching and would love to help.
Oh, thank you so much. And Helia, somebody listened to you for the last hour almost and was like, this woman is incredible. I want to get her on my team. I want to have a conversation with you and be able to see the vision, my vision even clearer because of the way you look at the world. How can they connect with you?
Yeah, so I'm on all social media platforms except TikTok. So I'm on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and under my first name and last name, Helia Oghani.
Mm.
And I'm also offering a free 5-day live event. I'm not sure people who are watching live, of course, they can join, but I'm not sure when you're going to post the recording. It's from June 10th to June 15th at 12 p.m. Eastern time. It's called Manifest Abundance. It's a live event and it's absolutely free. I'm going to be teaching Bob Proctor's teachings, and I'm going to bring another amazing teacher who's a Tao healer who's going to offer financial healing. It's a super amazing event that I'm really excited about. But for that, I need to send you the link. I don't know
Mm.
how we would be able to do that.
Yeah, you can probably put it in the comment section later on after this goes live. You can just do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Sounds good.
Mm. So, Helia, one more question. I got two more questions before we close out. So, what is your biggest takeaway from this conversation today? If you had to share that.
My biggest takeaway from this conversation. I just really loved everything that we talked about, and especially Sherry, what you shared, and maybe just what really hit was that try to be even more authentic
Mm-hmm.
and don't be afraid of people's judgments and just be more of myself. Um, but in general, it was just such a beautiful conversation. Still encouraged me more, this conversation encouraged me more to go after what I want and not thinking about the failure and just being myself as much as possible.
Mm. Who's that guy that says, "Be yourself, everyone else is taken"? Is that Oscar Wilde? Be yourself because everybody else is taken. So,
Yes,
no,
yes,
I
yes.
love that quote. Right. What
I
about you,
love
Sherry?
that.
What is your biggest takeaway?
Yeah, Healy, I love your um just your courage, right? It's like reminds me like if you don't like it, move, right?
Mm.
You can
You're not a
leave
tree.
all of your family. You can go do all of these things and you're going to be perfectly fine. Right? There might be some bumps on the road, but
Yeah.
if you're not happy, if you're not living in alignment, go do it, right? I think so many people get stuck in the fear of, oh my gosh, what will happen? And oh, well, I have to stay because of this, this, and this, and I have to do this. And they just weigh their lives down. And I I love your energy is so refreshing around like if it's not serving you, it's okay to move. It's okay to do something else. It's, you're gonna level up or at least level to somewhere, right? It's that
Mhm.
and that's okay and that's appropriate and that having that courage is how to find your most authentic self and live your biggest life.
Mhm.
Mm.
Mm, I love that. Can I add just one quick thing to that? I
Of
remember
course.
Bob always says change is the only constant.
Hmm.
Change is the only constant. Everything is always changing. The whole universe is always changing, expanding, galaxies. The whole nature is always changing. Nothing is constant. And I don't know why and from where we got this idea that we have to be constant. We have to live in the house that we've been, with the partner that we've been, in the same job that we've been. No, change, move. We're not trees, as you said, Asher.
Wow, this
I
is
love that.
okay. Since you rapping right now, there, Helia, I got one more question for you. What is that one thing or two thing when people do it drive you crazy? If you gotta share.
What is um honking? Really honking their that really drives me crazy. And sometimes it's unnecessary. I'm like, why did you even do that?
Mm,
The other thing that drives me crazy, just judging each other and judging themselves.
mm,
It's like sometimes people are really hard on themselves, and it's usually hand in hand. If you judge others, you usually are really judgmental of yourself too,
mhm,
and that's such a it's really such a negative heavy energy. We should really remove that from our lives. No judgment. We're all on our lives, on our paths, and we're all doing our best.
mhm.
um and yeah, I think these two.
What? Yeah, thank you for sharing. What about you, Sherry?
Yeah, very connected to what you were just saying around it really bothers me when people don't believe in themselves and they don't think that they can do it. Because I've always believed that I could just do anything. I might suck at it for a long time. And
That's why you guys are so
anything I've
stubborn.
done, what was that?
Stubbornly believing in yourself, right? Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, is like, I'm willing to, I believe in myself enough that I'm willing to put in the reps. Right.
Mm,
And so I think those two come in hand in hand. One, not believing in yourself, and two, not being willing to put in the reps and to
mhm,
fall down. Right. Now, we all learned how to walk by falling down a bunch. Right. You see a little kid, 9-month old or however old we are when we learn how to walk. Right. They fall down and they laugh and they get back up and they don't get pissed. They just fall down and they get back up and they try again. And then they fall down and they get back up. And we lost that somewhere along the way. And
mm,
embracing that playfulness and that it's okay. It's okay to fall down. It's like let's get back up. And people aren't willing to believe in themselves enough to put in the reps and let themselves fall and just get back up. That
mm.
bugs me.
Wow. For some reason, you guys are meant to connect today to sync up because your energy was flowing really good, by the way. Really good. Really good. And I would close up with this because today is about failure, and oftentimes I'm trying to have people look at failure differently. So, how I look at failure in my own personal journey is that failure is simply a new experience.
Mm.
If you think about it, when you think about success itself, the other binary piece of this is success is a cycle. If you think about it, the clocks goes from 1 to 24, it's a successful cycle. Now, for you to break any cycle, what you gotta do? You gotta fail at it. So I recognize the importance of failure because now I want a new experience. I gotta fail at the old thing that I'm doing, repetition I'm doing every day. And up until you get trapped in that cycle, you don't realize it. That cycle is successful, even if the result is not what you want, it's still a successful cycle. Now you want something different. You need a new experience. You gotta fail at that cycle. And once you recognize the power in failure, now we start, okay, so I failed at that thing. And what is it? What did I notice just now? Where did it took me to? What new experience did it give me? And once you recognize those new experiences, start value your failure. Like, okay, I can use it for something else later on. I can go try it and make this a cycle too if I want to, right? The direction that it took you. So just gotta recognize the power in that. And you guys have shared very beautiful today about your own journey, your own story. And it's very empowering to see both of you just really owning your own path and just sharing your stuff with the world. Any last word from both of you?
Thank you for having us.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
I just want to say thank you. That was an amazing opportunity, and I'm so happy to get to know you guys.
Yeah. And see, you showed up today, not knowing what's gonna happen, and just what happened, what needs to
I
happen.
just showed up, and I said this is on my calendar. It's a podcast. I'm supposed to be in some sort of podcast. Let's see what happens. And I'm
And you
glad I
happened.
did. I'm glad I did because I wanna get Sherry's contact. I need some marketing in my business.
Ah, see? Perfect. All right, folks, you're tuning to Pandora's Awareness Podcast, a place where we collect stories and circulate life-changing wisdom. And today you've got some wisdom from Helia and Sherry. And with that, make it an awesome day.